family. And if they all forget my name, well, that's fine with me. I'm living for the world to see. And let's do it. And you can just hang up after. Good evening, everybody. Meteorologist Blake Mathews here. It is, we are staring down the barrel of an intense winter storm. In fact, as I said earlier at 6 o'clock, that if this was a hurricane, it would be a Category 5, and it's got Houston's name written all over it. This is certainly going to be a winter storm for the record books, one that we will be remembering for a very long time. In fact, this is a storm that college students in 100 years from now will be learning about and studying about such a rare event that is unfolding before our eyes. So certainly we are living history as to what is going to unfold, and it begins tonight. In fact, already we are seeing some icy conditions develop out to the west of Houston. We'll show you why and where coming up here in just a moment. So let's get started here with our Arctic outbreak. By far one of the most prolific Arctic outbreaks we have ever witnessed here along the upper Texas coast. Our all-time record low temperature at 5 degrees, believe it or not, is in jeopardy as we head into Tuesday morning. And in fact, our all-time low max temperature, meaning the coldest we've ever seen heading into the afternoon, of 20 degrees set back in 1899, that too is in jeopardy because we have high temperatures only in the teens as we head into Monday. So let's get started here. We have a winter storm warning in effect area-wide. That's going to include every single county in southeast Texas. In fact, it includes almost every single county in the state of Texas. The first time on record I think that has ever happened. In fact, every single county, all 254 counties of Texas, are under a winter storm watch and or a winter storm warning. Again, something that has never happened before. So certainly already we are seeing history unfold before us here across the deep south tonight. Again, record low temperatures are likely now as we head into Tuesday morning. Some areas of southeast Texas could see temperatures drop below zero, the first time that has happened in a very long time. In fact, College Station, we could be flirting with their all-time record low temperature of 3 below zero. They may make a run at that as we head into Tuesday morning as well. Your eyes do not deceive you. Near blizzard conditions as we head into the Houston area on Monday. We're talking about extremely heavy snow and blowing snow. In fact, the National Weather Service is saying that we could see whiteout conditions here all across southeast Texas as winds gust over 30 miles an hour. And not only is that going to blow the snow around, making visibility almost completely zero, but it's also going to drift that snow. And that means some areas it could be stacked up quite a bit as that snow blows around across the area. And it looks like some of the models are suggesting we could get quite a bit of snow, and I mean a lot, especially for areas north of I-10, partly because the computer models are beginning to see that maybe the air mass is a little bit deeper than we had anticipated. So yes, while we are anticipating that this is going to start off as a wintry weather, freezing rain and sleet event for the Houston area, especially at the coast, it does appear that a lot of us are going to transition over to that wintry mix and then eventually all snow as we head into Monday morning. So here's a look at those watches and warnings that are currently in place. Take this in, folks. You're never ever going to see this again in your lifetime. I guarantee you that. In fact, almost every single county across the entire state of Texas is under a winter storm warning, and that does include all of us here along the upper Texas coast. So whether you're watching us from Huntsville or Madisonville, or perhaps you're watching from Galveston Island, perhaps maybe you're standing on the beach in front of the seawall, this winter weather winter storm warning includes you as well. And you'll notice a little sliver here out here in the extreme eastern portions of Texas, the big thicket. They are under a winter storm watch. That is going to be upgraded to a winter storm warning here over the next couple of hours. And yes, even Brownsville, Texas, under a winter storm watch this evening. The first time the National Weather Service office in Brownsville has issued such a watch in the last 10 years. All right, let's talk temperatures. That's part of the big story. It's 37 now degrees at Bush Intercontinental Airport, already freezing there in Huntsville. We've got 30 in College Station, 32 Brenham, 31 there in Columbus. The reason why that's important, not only are you already below freezing, but we are now beginning to see precipitation develop on radar. And as that moves into that extremely cold air, you can see the coloring here is pink, and we are already seeing freezing rain and sleet form out to the west of Houston. So if your travels take you out the Katy Freeway this evening to the west, out towards Columbus, Colorado County, we're already seeing some sleet and freezing rain. Do not drive if you are in Wharton or Colorado County, perhaps up towards Waller County, Austin County, or Washington County. These are the areas that are already below freezing, and anything that pushes into that area, we are going to see icy bridges develop rapidly. So again, it doesn't take much, just a little bit of freezing drizzle. And you saw what happened there in Fort Worth with a 133-car pileup, 32-car pileup there in Austin, and even here locally up in Magnolia, we had that pileup of 10 cars just because of a little bit of freezing drizzle. It does not take much. So already consider the winter storm already in progress, beginning to ramp up now for areas out to the west. And conditions here in Houston all the way to the coast really begin to deteriorate as we head into tomorrow afternoon. So be in your safe place by the time we get to 3 in the afternoon. That's when temperatures are going to begin to drop below freezing, and as all that precipitation begins to move in, that's when we're going to start seeing the accumulation of freezing rain and sleet. And some of the latest projections do indicate that that freezing rain and sleet will quickly transition over to snow to the north of I-10, and some of that snow can be very, very heavy, leading to blizzard-like conditions here across the Houston area. Folks, I've been doing this for 13 years. I grew up in Houston. My family moved here in 1989. I cannot remember a time that I have ever thought I would ever use the word blizzard to describe our weather here in the Houston area, but that's exactly what we're facing this evening, and the National Weather Service is in agreement with that, with whiteout conditions expected heading into Monday morning. There's your disturbance right there. You can see that rain beginning to move up through South Texas, and again, this may transition over to ice as far south as Brownsville, where they do have that winter storm watch in effect, and all that moisture is going to ride right up into our region. Already, again, you can see the pink changing over to snow just to the south of Austin. In fact, the city of Austin looking for their biggest snowfall since 1985. So all sorts of records going to be shattered here across the state of Texas over the course of the next 48 hours. This is the granddaddy of winter storms right here. This is what's going to be sweeping on into the state of Texas, into air that is exceedingly cold. It is now 25 up there in Dallas, holding on to 22 in Abilene. We're at 30 in San Antonio, Victoria at 31. And I just want to point something out. Notice how Victoria is colder than Houston, and it's colder than Lufkin, and it's colder than Beaumont. Look at this, 36 now in Harlingen. So the nature of Arctic air, it's very dense and it's very heavy, and true Arctic air usually spills straight south into deep South Texas before it oozes off to the east. And what we're seeing here is exactly what you would expect for a true Arctic air mass. Now, the really ultra cold stuff, well, that's on its way into Houston as well. In fact, again, we're challenging all-time record lows with temperatures possibly approaching 0 in certain areas of southeast Texas. In fact, let's talk those temperatures right now. 4 degrees as we head into Monday morning at 7 o'clock up there in North Texas, 0 in Abilene, 12 below 0 there in Amarillo, 21 to get us started here on Monday morning. Keep in mind, this is the time when we're going to see that extremely heavy precipitation move into our region. That is when we're going to see the heavy icing and perhaps very, very heavy snow push through the Houston area as well. Again, very early before sunrise on Monday. So by the time you wake up Monday morning, you likely will not have power. And number 2, it is going to be a winter wonderland out there starting very early on Monday morning. Now, look what happens heading into the afternoon. This is 4 o'clock. We stay in the low 20s. In fact, the computer models have had a warm bias over the course of the last couple of days. So if that transitions into Monday as well, you could probably shave 4 or 5 degrees off this temperature, which means we will be stuck in the mid-teens for daytime high, and that will be enough to set an all-time record low high temperature for Houston, meaning the coldest afternoon ever experienced here in southeast Texas. Look at the high in Dallas, 11 above 0. They drop below 0 as we head into Tuesday morning at 1 below 0. And again, if the model is running a little bit too warm, like it has been over the last 24 to 48 hours, you can shave 4 or 5 degrees off that number, meaning Dallas could be making a run at their all-time record low of 8 below zero set back in the 1980s. 1 in Austin, the model's showing 4 in Houston, 1 below zero there in Tyler, Lufkin coming in at 0. And again, see this little gray shading right there clipping Montgomery County, Grimes County, Brazos County, Washington County. Those are temperatures that are below zero. So again, very, very close by. Again, something completely unprecedented, never experienced before here in the greater Houston area. Now, things don't improve at all as we head into Tuesday. In fact, high temperatures expected to remain in those mid to upper 20s with all the snow and ice on the ground here. It's not going to go anywhere. So that means travel across the state of Texas is going to be absolutely impossible and extremely dangerous to be moving around not only on Monday, but heading into Tuesday and into Wednesday as well. The temperature is going to remain very cold for a couple of days. So again, absolutely foolish to try and conquer this heading into early next week. So just a heads up on that. As we head into 5 o'clock here tomorrow afternoon, temperatures are already approaching freezing here in the city of Houston. We are well below freezing out there to the west. That precipitation will already be moving in. So we're looking at icing, perhaps significant icing beginning early tomorrow, heading into the lunch hour, especially to the west of Houston. So again, be in your safe place in the city of Houston by the time we get to about 3 o'clock. That's when things really begin to go downhill, and that is when our winter storm warning begins to take effect here across all of our southeast Texas counties. Now, as we head into Monday morning at 7 o'clock, we're at 15 degrees in Huntsville, 12 in College Station, 13 in Brenham, low 20s here in the city of Houston, 19 out there in Tomball, and temperatures do not recover. In fact, only about 20 or 22 for the city heading into the afternoon. I think we're going to be colder than that. 17 degrees out there in College Station and Brenham, 19 degrees in Columbus. This is when things get really interesting. Now, once that storm system begins to exit stage right, the skies may clear out behind that, at least briefly. So, what do you need to get extremely cold, record-breaking temperatures? Well, you need a lot of snow and ice on the ground. Well, we're going to have that. The next thing you need is you need a clear sky to allow any heat to escape out into space. That's going to allow for radiational cooling. So it looks like we may have that as well. And you need a strong Arctic high with very cold temperatures to your north and that strong wind that's going to blow it right into our region. We're going to have that as well with winds up to about 30 miles per hour. That's what's going to lead to those blizzard-like conditions across Houston as we head into Monday. You wrap all that in a bow into a big package, you have the recipe right there for temperatures that are off the charts. 2 in Conroe, 4 at Bush Intercontinental Airport. And by the way, if this number is realized, it'll be the coldest temperature ever observed here in southeast Texas. The previous record is 5, set back in January of 1930. So again, we could be making a run here at all-time record lows across the upper Texas coast. We're at 10 in Pearland, even Galveston Island. I think this is probably more impressive than the 4 at Bush. When you can get teens at the seawall, folks, that is impressive considering how warm the Gulf of Mexico generally is. That takes an impressive Arctic air mass to get Galveston into the teens, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing, rivaling the great Arctic outbreaks of 1895 and 1899, and again, something we may not see again until maybe 100 years goes by. So this is a once-in-a-lifetime event that we are facing along the upper Texas coast. Now, as we head into Tuesday, again, temperatures do not recover. We're talking about only mid, maybe some upper 20s, so all the snow and ice that is on the ground as we get into Monday will stay there, and again, we'll be there heading into Wednesday and maybe even Thursday as well as our next winter storm begins to push on in. Yes, this is Houston, and we're talking about not 1 but 2 major winter storms that are possibly, one definitely going to affect our area, the one by midweek. We're still watching and trying to pin down the details. Now, it gets worse. Remember that 30-mile-an-hour wind I was telling you about it with a temperature of around 4? Well, look what it does to our feels like numbers. We're talking 11 below zero is what it's going to feel like in College Station, 8 below zero in Tomball, 6 degrees below zero at Bush Intercontinental Airport. In fact, the Weather Service saying we can see temperatures as low as 15 below zero. Feels like numbers. Folks, that is instant. We're talking like frostbite. We're talking death to animals. Do not leave your dog or your cat or any sort of animal out in this. They will not survive the night. So it is imperative that you bring your pets in for the night. Do not leave them in this sort of elements here across the region, something we've never experienced before. Anybody that is outside could experience hypothermia very quickly, frostbite, the whole 9 yards. In fact, we've got a wind chill watch in effect for our area as well. That is exceedingly rare, something only seen a couple of times per century. So as we head into the forecast here, let's take a look at the GFS model. One thing I want to point out, this is midnight heading into, well, here just in about the next couple of hours. You'll notice already the pink beginning to show up here in our far west and southwest counties. So anything that falls in this area, no matter how light it is going to begin to accumulate immediately, starting first with the bridges and overpasses in our far western counties. And again, that's heading into the midnight hour. And then look what happens. This is first thing tomorrow morning. Those of you in the Woodlands, Conroe, Willis, New Waverly, Huntsville, getting out towards Anderson and Beedies, College Station, Brenham, Hockley, anywhere in Waller County, we are talking about icing already first thing tomorrow morning. So we're saying right around 3 o'clock is going to be the time where you're going to want to be, where you're going to spin this storm. But folks, don't travel tomorrow if you don't have to. It's already going to be dangerous. And again, I continue to point back at that pileup we saw in Magnolia yesterday, 10-car pileup only because of a little bit of freezing drizzle. So already we're going to see the precipitation moving into temperatures that are below freezing. And as we head into 6 p.m., this is when the big show begins to kick off. And you can see the precipitation really expanding in coverage pretty rapidly heading into Sunday night. This is 10 o'clock, and we're looking at heavy icing already taking place in all of our area counties with some heavy snow out there towards College Station. As we go into the overnight hours, we're talking about the wee hours of the morning, 3, 4 o'clock. Watch what happens. Very, very intense snow bands begin to push into Houston. In fact, we could be looking at what we call bright banding, and that's where the radar picks up super intense snowfall rates. We're talking 2, 3, 4 inches per hour, and that is what could produce even some lightning and thunder in this, which is extremely unusual up to the north. It's even more unusual as you get to the south. So if that were to happen, you get some bright banding, or you get basically a thunderstorm that develops in temperatures that are 18 or 20 degrees, you're going to get intense snowfall rates, and some areas here to the north of I-10 could end up with a whopping amount of snow before it is all said and done. We're still going to be looking at that icing here in our immediate coastal counties heading into 4:30, but I do think that everybody ends up with snow on the ground by the time this event comes to an end. By 10:30, you can see the snow already trying to move into Winnie, Liberty, Humble, out towards Bush Intercontinental Airport, probably all the way down to downtown Houston at this time again. Heavy snow from the Woodlands to Conroe to Huntsville, Tomball, Katy, Sealy, and maybe even into Sugar Land as well before the whole system begins to depart by the time we get to 2:30. So I think the best chance of some really intense snowfall rates is going to be before sunrise up to about 10 a.m. and then things begin to wind down after that, but the damage will be done. Speaking of damage, let's go back to those very low dangerous temperatures that we're going to experience. Part of the reason why, remember the 3 ingredients you needed? You needed a lot of snow on the ground, you needed a strong Arctic high to push that cold air into our region, and the third ingredient was what? You needed that clear sky. And look what happens. Look at the clouds out to the east pushing away from the region. Our skies are clearing out here across the upper Texas coast in the wake of that area of low pressure, which means all 3 ingredients are going to be in place to allow those temperatures to fall out and again possibly reach all-time record lows here in the Houston area. Let's take a look at the European model. Again, you can see this takes us into the midnight 1 a.m. hour, the precipitation developing out to the west of Houston. Once again, temperatures are expected to be below freezing at this time in this region. So again, Columbus, Sealy, Brenham, out towards Austin County, Waller County, Washington, Grimes, Brazos, western Montgomery County, west of I-45. This is where we could be looking at icing already just in the next couple of hours. So again, travel not advised, but if you must travel, and it looks like that kind of blew right on by there pretty quickly. It looks like I need some pause points. The bottom line is the European model showing generally the same thing. So there's those winds that we were talking about, 24, 26, 27 miles an hour. If you have several inches of snow on the ground, that snow is going to begin to drift and blow around, creating whiteout conditions, basically blizzard conditions through the Houston area. Again, something that you will probably never ever see again. So just really an unprecedented situation in every sense of the word. Let's talk ice for a few minutes, because not only are we going to be dealing with snow, we're going to be dealing with ice first. I think that's what the precipitation type everybody's going to be dealing with. Freezing rain, sleet, eventually transitioning over to snow. Now that freezing rain is the most dangerous of all 3 of them. The reason why is because A, it just looks like it rained. When you look out on the street, you're going to say, oh, looks like wet pavement, until you step on it, and then you bust your head open, right? So stay off the roads, and that freezing rain, It collects on everything. That's what brings down the power lines. As soon as it touches a power line, it clings to it. And that ice begins to weigh down those power lines. So for example, a ½ inch of ice between two spans, between two power poles, that one span of wire, a ½ inch of ice adds 500 pounds to that one span of lines. Now picture that all over the city. So the crews are going to have quite a job on their hands if we do indeed get upwards of about a ½ inch of ice. Now this particular model showing generally a 1/10 to a 1/4 inch, which that's going to be plenty enough to bring down some tree limbs and some power lines. So again, we're looking at widespread power outage throughout the day tomorrow as well. As far as snowfall totals, I've seen different models. Some bring a boatload of snow, some not so much. This is the European model showing 8 to 10 inches of snow across our northern regions. 3, 4, 5 inches here in our central zones. That does include areas from downtown to Aldine to Kingwood, Humble, Spring, Oak Ridge North, Conroe, maybe up towards Willis, maybe 5 to 8 inches up towards Willis, and then out towards Montgomery as well, and then lesser amounts here along the immediate coast. Now the reason why it's lesser along the immediate coast, of course, most of that precipitation is going to fall in the form of ice and not snow. So the further north you are, the better it is that you're going to see some heavy snow. Now this is the European model, the GFS model, and it is even more bullish on the amount of snow we could see, painting almost 13 inches out there in Brenham, 10.2 inches in College Station, 9 inches, 8 to 9 inches from Conroe to Huntsville, 9 inches there in Livingston. But again, the same general idea along the immediate coast. We're talking about mainly just ice. So the further south you are, the more likely it is you're going to have that freezing rain and sleet. And the further north you are of I-10, the more likely it is you could see some very heavy snow. Now officially, the National Weather Service is calling for 1 to 3 inches of snow, with some areas picking up a little more than 4 inches. But again, this is a very intense storm, and anytime a winter storm comes through southeast Texas, you can always expect a surprise. So we're going to be watching this hour by hour. I don't know how much snow you're going to see. A lot of folks writing me on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook saying, oh, well, how much snow? How much snow? Some models bring a ton, and some models bring a lot of ice. So it's just something we're going to see how all this transpires over the course of the next couple of hours. Either way, we are in for a blockbuster winter storm as we head into Sunday night and Monday. So let's walk through the forecast. We start off in the mid-30s tomorrow. I think we fall to around freezing heading into the evening, a 60% chance of freezing rain and sleet, and those roads are going to become very dangerous heading into the afternoon tomorrow, and then absolute impossible driving conditions as we head into Monday, a 100% chance of heavy snow and ice, a high temperature of 17 degrees. Take that in for a moment. That has never happened before. 17 degrees as we head into Monday afternoon. We're waking up to 6 degrees. Now, the model I just showed you showed 4 degrees at Bush Intercontinental Airport. If we do reach 4 degrees, that will be the all-time low temperature here in the city of Houston. We do not get out of the 20s on Tuesday with wind chill readings of -5 to 15 degrees below zero. Absolute historic cold. And then we stay around freezing Wednesday into Thursday as our next winter storm begins to push on through, bringing a 60% chance of ice and snow Wednesday and early Thursday morning. And then things finally begin to moderate as we head into Friday and the weekend. In fact, some models suggest that we could be back to the 70s heading into next weekend. So we are in for quite the winter storm, quite the roller coaster ride here across the upper Texas coast. Again, wow, what we are seeing is just off the charts. It really is. And as a meteorologist and as a Houstonian, somebody who grew up here, I mean, this is just something you dream about. You know, as a kid, I would, look at places like Chicago or Cleveland, and I would always be so eat up with envy and jealousy about them building snowmen and get to play in the snow and et cetera, et cetera. And I was always so angry that we never really got anything. Well, I think Mother Nature is going to make it up to me as we head into Sunday night and Monday. So please, I know a lot of folks are very concerned. It's a snowstorm. It's an ice storm. Stay off the roads. You'll be fine. Stay in the house. If you do have to adventure outside, lots of layers. That is going to be the key to staying warm. Make sure all extremities are covered up. And please, I cannot emphasize enough, please bring your pets in. They will die in this kind of cold, especially heading into Monday night and Tuesday morning. That's when those temperatures are really going to bottom out to close to zero in some parts of southeast Texas, with that wind chill as low as 15 degrees below zero. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to digest. I know a lot of folks say, can it really do all this? I guess we're going to find out as we head into Monday. It certainly looks that way. We're in for quite a winter storm, one that you'll remember for a very long time. All right. Join us tonight at 10 on KHOU 11, and if you can't join us there, you can watch us at KHOU.com. And please, follow me on Instagram, Blake's Takes 08. I'm updating pretty much round the clock on my Instagram account. Also Twitter at KHOU Blake 11. I'm updating there round the clock. And of course, if you're not going to do those two things, give me a follow at KHOU Blake Mathews. I'd really appreciate the follows. And of course, I'll keep you guys updated as all this unfolds. We'll see you on TV beginning tonight at 10.